Okay, so are you ready to dive into something a little different today?
Always up for a challenge, especially if it involved, like, thought-provoking ideas.
Exactly. And this one, well, the title's kind of in your face, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fick.
Yeah, I gotta admit, when I first heard that title, I was like, is this just gonna tell me to not care about anything?
Right, exactly. But it's actually the opposite. It's like this deep dive into what really matters and how to, like, focus your energy on the right
It's
thing.
more about being intentional with your flicks.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to break down some of the big takeaways from the book and see how we can actually use them in our own lives. Sound good?
That's good to me.
Awesome. So let's start with this whole idea of choosing what to care about.
Yeah.
The book talks about how we have limited energy and attention, like we can't give a feck about everything.
Right, it's like we have a limited supply of flex to give, and we gotta spend them wisely.
So it's not about being indifferent to everything, but about being selective.
Right, right. It's about figuring out what truly matters to you, your values, and directing your energy towards those things.
Okay, so values are key here. But how do we even, like, figure out what our values are?
That's where self-reflection comes in. The book talks about asking yourself tough questions like, what am I willing to struggle for? What brings me a sense of fulfillment, even if it's hard?
Hmm, that's interesting. So it's not about avoiding challenges altogether, but about choosing the ones that align with what we really care about.
Exactly. Like, are you going to spend your energy worrying about things outside your control or focus on areas where you can actually make a difference?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's like choosing to stress over traffic versus like choosing to be present with my family when I get home,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. You're choosing where to direct your limited energy. And that kind of leads us to another big idea from the book. Happiness comes from solving problems.
Wait, so problems are good now?
Well, not exactly. It's more like problems are an inevitable part of life, you know?
Yeah, I guess so.
But the happiness, the fulfillment, comes from tackling those problems head on. It's about the process of overcoming challenges, not just reaching the end goal.
Oh, I see. So it's like the feeling you get after finishing a tough puzzle or like finally running that marathon you've been training for.
Yes, exactly. It's the satisfaction of knowing you faced a challenge and you overcame it. And that sense of accomplishment can lead to genuine happiness.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of another point the book makes about taking responsibility for your life.
Yes, this is a big one. It's about understanding the difference between fault and responsibility.
Okay, unpack that for me. What's the difference?
So you might not be at fault for every situation you find yourself in, but you are responsible for how you respond, how you move forward.
So even when bad things happen, things that are totally outside our control, we still have a choice in how we react.
Exactly. And that's empowering because it means we're not just victims of circumstance. We have agency. We can choose to take ownership of our lives.
I like that. Okay, so we've talked about choosing our battles, finding happiness and solving problems, taking responsibility. What else is there?
Well, the book also dives into the importance of failure.
Failure. Wait, I thought we were supposed to be like avoiding failure.
Not exactly. It's more about reframing our perspective on failure. The book argues that failure is a necessary part of growth.
Okay. Explain that a bit more.
Think about it. If you're terrified of failing, you'll never try anything new. You'll never step outside your comfort zone.
That's true. You got to risk failure to like actually achieve anything worthwhile.
Exactly. And the book encourages us to embrace failure as a learning opportunity. It's not about seeking out failure, but about seeing it as a stepping stone on the path to success.
So like those entrepreneurs who had like a bunch of failed businesses before they finally hit it big.
Exactly. Their failures likely taught them valuable lessons that ultimately contributed to their eventual success.
Okay, I'm starting to see failure in a whole new light. Now here's one that kind of threw me for a loop. You are not special.
Yeah, that one can be a bit jarring at first, but it's not about putting yourself down or anything.
So what's it about then?
It's about challenging this modern obsession with being exceptional all the time. The pressure to be extraordinary can be paralyzing, you know?
Oh, yeah, totally. It's like everyone's trying to be the next big influencer or entrepreneur. It's exhausting.
Right. And the book suggests that accepting your ordinariness can actually be liberating.
So instead of trying to stand out from the crowd, we can just focus on being the best version of ourselves.
Exactly. It's about pursuing genuine growth, not just chasing external validation.
I can dig that. And that actually ties in with another idea from the book, The Illusion of Certainty.
Oh, yeah. This is a big one. We all crave certainty in life. But the reality is life is full of unknowns.
Right? Like we can plan and prepare all we want, but there are always going to be things we can't predict.
Exactly. And the book encourages us to get comfortable with that uncertainty, to be okay with not having all the answers.
So it's about being more adaptable, more flexible.
Precisely. It's about learning to roll with the punches and navigate the unexpected.
Okay, now, for a topic that might be a little heavier, but also super important, death.
Yeah, this one can be a bit touchy, but the book doesn't approach it in like a morbid way, you know?
Right, it's
Yeah.
more about using the awareness of our mortality as like a motivator.
Exactly. It's a reminder that our time is limited and we should make the most of it.
So instead of like fearing death, we can use it as a reason to live more intentionally. Right.
Right. It can inspire us to prioritize what truly matters, pursue experiences that align with our values, and live more authentically.
Wow. Yeah, when you put it like that, it's actually pretty powerful.
Mm.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but one last big takeaway from the book: values matter more than success.
This is so important because it highlights the difference between external validation and intrinsic motivation.
Can you break that down a bit further?
Sure. So external validation is all about seeking approval from others. You know, things like money, fame, status. Those things can be nice, but they're ultimately fleeting.
Oh, yeah. And intrinsic motivation, that's about what drives you from within. Right.
Exactly. It's about living in accordance with your values, pursuing goals that are meaningful to you, regardless of what society might say.
So it's about defining success on your own terms, not letting external factors dictate your worth.
Exactly. And the book argues that this is crucial for long-term fulfillment.
So it's not about achieving some arbitrary definition of success, but about living a life that feels authentic and meaningful to you.
Precisely.
Wow, well, we've just scratched the surface of the subtle art of not giving a feck. But I think it's safe to say this book offers a really refreshing perspective on self-improvement.
It definitely challenges conventional wisdom and encourages us to think differently about happiness, success, and what truly matters.
It's like a permission slip to let go of the things we think we should care about and focus on what actually resonates with our values.
Exactly.
So here's something to think about as you go about your day. What's one area of your life where you're giving too many frecks about things that don't truly matter?
And what would it look like to consciously choose to care less about that? What could you focus your energy on instead?
It might be uncomfortable at first, but I think it's a challenge worth taking on. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, happy exploring.